Good morning, everyone. Oh, you know what? It might be afternoon for some of you. Welcome. I'm Shannon King, and I am super honored to have an awesome panel for everyone today to kickstart 2023. We have an awesome panel of 30 under 30s here with us. And just to be brief and sake of time, I'm going to have them introduce themselves. And I'm going to start with you, Koki.
Well, good afternoon for me. My name is Koki Adasi. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I've been in real estate now for 17 years, and I'm a past 30 under 30 honoree back in 2008, so a long time ago when I didn't have all these gray hairs in here.
And where are you from? Where are you? What market?
D.C., Washington, D.C. Yeah, so
Washington,
we handle D.C., Northern Virginia, and Montgomery County in Maryland.
Awesome. What about you, Sarah?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sarah Miga. I'm from Ann Arbor, Michigan, and I've been in the business since the beginning of 2016, so 8 years now, and I'm from the class of 2020, so just 3 years ago.
Awesome. And Katie?
I had to click my unmute button. My name is Katie French. I'm in Edmond, Oklahoma, just outside of Oklahoma City. I actually got my license Christmas Eve of 2016. So I'm in my 7th year of real estate, and I was 30 under 30 of last year.
Awesome. So as you guys can see, we have a diverse panel today. We chose them specifically because they represent different markets, different price points. Koki is on a team. Katie has a full-time assistant. I'm sorry, Sarah has a full-time assistant, and Katie is an individual practitioner. So hopefully you guys are going to find a lot of similarities in your businesses as we get started. But since the new year started, I just want to kick off by asking you guys goal setting and planning. How do you do it? When do you do it? Do you have any tools, tips, and what is your number one goal for the year? And I'm going to start with you, Sarah. No pressure.
Yeah, no, I'm excited to answer. So I'm very type A. I love goal setting, planning. It's honestly how I run my personal and professional life. I work off of the 12-week year, which is a book that I learned about when I was with my previous broker. And I actually have an accountability group from that book that I meet with every Monday. We've been doing that for 2 years. And basically the concept is that you set goals in 12-week increments, right? It's taking SMART goals, which is that they're supposed to be deliverable. They're supposed to have a time frame, and then you have action steps with due dates, essentially. So I sit down every quarter about 2 weeks before the end of the quarter, and I look back and see, well, what did I achieve? And where are we missing the mark? What do we need to do to adjust to get back on schedule for the next quarter? So I usually set 3 12-week goals for the business and 3 personal. That way you're not missing out on the home life stuff too, right? And then at the end, I transcribe all of that to the calendar. It takes me about 6 hours every quarter, which seems like a lot of time, but in the scheme of things, it works really well, because if you have a huge goal, like say to sell 20 million a year in real estate, you need to work backwards and make sure that you're on track every 12 weeks. Otherwise, you won't be anywhere near where you need to be at the end of the year.
Awesome. Can you repeat the name of that? And do you know who the author is? What book is that?
It's called The 12-Week Year. And I don't know the author's name off the top of my hand, but if you Google it, it's the only one.
Awesome. And Stephanie did just put that in the chat for us. So thank you, Stephanie. Great. I love that. I took notes on that. What about you, Katie or Koki? Who wants to jump in?
So I'm kind of completely the opposite of her. Just being honest. So, I mean, my planner is kind of my life. So as far as like keeping a check with myself, I have an actual old school paper planner that I use. As far as like my goal setting and everything, if I do it that way, for whatever reason, it just stresses me out, because if I don't meet those goals, I'm extremely hard on myself, and it's not okay. So I learned that in the beginning. So I'm more of somewhat just go with the flow, but also I just make sure I focus on, which I'm sure we'll get into later, the things that I do to drive my business. And that's just worked for me. I've also just been very blessed, but as long as I'm doing what I should be doing and I'm working my hardest to make my business be successful, then I'm okay with it. But I mean, ultimately, my goal is just always to do better than the year before. So that's just kind of where I put my goal lines, because if not, just like personally, it stresses me out too much. But I mean, I do like, you know, if I don't have stuff in my horizon, then that's when I kind of buckle down harder on the things that I do to make my business successful. But overall, really, it's just my planner and having things planned out to where I do my business models and kind of get them and make them to where I am successful.
So, and Katie, how many transactions a year do you do?
So anywhere, I just actually pulled up my kind of year-end trends from the last 3 years. It's anywhere from like 65 to like 70.
Without planning, that is incredible.
Yeah. And just by myself, which is getting to be a little much.
No, and you literally don't have a part-time assistant. Do you have a transaction coordinator in the office?
I got one last year, yes, which was a huge lifesaver because my back-end people in my office were starting to not hate me, but they're like, girl, you got to get your stuff in. You're not getting your DAs. I'm like, I know. So I do have that now.
Good for you. And Koki, what about you? Before you talk about goals, can you tell us a little bit about how your business is set up and how many transactions you do a year?
Sure. So I'm a team leader. I've had a team for the last about 12 years now. I have 2 amazing buyer agents. My wife runs operations for our team. And then we have a transaction coordinator. So there's 5 of us. And last year we did 96 transactions. Our average sale price is just over $900,000. That has increased significantly over the years. When I was first in real estate, my average sale price was like $275. I'm in the same market, 17 years later. So clients have grown with us over the years, and our sale price has increased as well. As far as business planning, we try and do it every year around the October to the November timeframe. And it's really based on myself and other agents on my team, based on our personal goals, right? And so we go through and account for every single thing that we spend money on, from our family trips to our investment properties that we're looking to purchase, just to our normal expenses. And from there, we can then see the income that we need to produce to fulfill that in the following year and do the things that we want to try and do in that year as well. We then put that together, as a team, and that therein lies our annual goal. And then we take that GCI, work backwards to figure out how many units we have to sell, and what that volume needs to be as well. Awesome.
So curious, have any of you guys had a market shift in the last 9 months? Yes.
Oh, yes.
Major change. So Koki, you were selling prior to, you were selling in our last recession, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Is there anything you're implementing now that is similar to that you did then, or is this entirely different? What do you see going on, and what are you doing?
Yes. So in some ways it's similar. In some ways it's actually very different. So, back in 2008, 07, 08, 09, market, shifted significantly. People thought it was terrible, but for me, it was fantastic, because my friends who all before couldn't afford to buy a property were now getting all their closing costs paid for, every single inspection item, getting taken care of by a seller, because sellers, were trying to do whatever they could to sell. Inventory was very high. Now we saw a shift in our market around September, late summer, with the increase in rates. Inventory was still relatively low, but people were now having to adjust to a higher interest rate. And so it took time for people to realize that, hey, like our inventory is not increasing, significantly. So the market here will not crash. And we had about a 3-month period where buyers could negotiate. They could do an inspection after they're under contract, which was, very foreign for us, for a couple of years during COVID. And now, sitting here February 15th, we're back to a heightened market, multiple offer situations, people competing. So buyers had a small window, to get back to like a more of a normal market. And now we're here in a seller's market again.
Wow. Crazy. What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, so we did see a bit of a shift about 4 or 5 months ago in our market, but not to the point where anything is like drastically changed. I feel like it's the exception, not the rule, right? So it's still a pretty strong seller's market. Homes are still selling in under 30 days. We're still getting multiple offer situations. We're just getting a few more options where sellers might be able to get a contingent on sale offer accepted, or buyers might be able to get some concessions that they weren't able to do before and weren't having to waive inspection and all that crazy stuff, right? But for me, I feel like the market really hasn't shifted that much in our area. It stayed pretty consistent, and it was a very minor change. So while everybody was kind of doom and gloom, I was kind of like, well, this is only going to last a month or two, and then things are going to be right back to where we are. So I haven't put my foot off the pedal.
What is your average sales price there?
Yeah, so my average is about 400,000, and I do about 50 transactions a year. I could do more. I just choose family.
Balance. We're going to talk about that. That's a good one. So it's interesting to see 400,000. You really didn't see much of a shift in the market. Koki around $1 million kind of slowed down, but it's now accelerated again. What about you, Katie? What are you guys seeing in Oklahoma?
So ours has definitely kind of slowed some. I don't really want to say slow because it's not slow. But once again, we're not necessarily getting into those multiple offer fights, or if we are, it's only about maybe 2 to 3 people. But overall, it's definitely getting more balanced. Our inventory is still extremely low. And it also really just depends on the property. So like, instead of me selling a house in 1 day or 2 days, it might be a week or 2. But it is nice because there is a little bit more negotiation for buyers. Like, I just got a buyer under contract and I was able to negotiate $11,000 under the list price, and I've been on the market for 2 months, which is still not a crazy amount of time, but I was like, this is fun. I get to negotiate again. And I got a contingency accepted as well. Took me a second to remember that form too, because I hadn't written one of those in a very long time. But like I said, I think it's good just because that gives more buyers better opportunities for people that have stopped looking for like the last year and a half. So I think we're starting to get to that kind of balance, but it's not necessarily better on one side or the other.
Awesome. Okay, so I have a question for you guys. What are you doing in 2023? Something new, something, whether it's marketing, maybe it's a new life balance goal. What's new for 2023 for you guys? You want to go, Sarah?
That's a great question. New for me, I guess it's funny because, so I just hired a full-time licensed agent in July of last year. So we're going on 8 months now. And I just had a baby 3 weeks ago. So for me, really relying on somebody else has been very difficult. Like Katie, I was a full-time, individual agent up until July of last year, when I decided if I'm going to expand my family, which we were pregnant, we didn't have a choice at that point, I was going to need support. So the thing that I'm trying to do this year is actually letting go and letting somebody else actually step in for me. It was very nerve-wracking at first, but now it's been amazing. I've actually switched my listing consultations to virtual. I've had 5 in the last 2 weeks, and I've never done them virtually before. It made me very nervous, but I sent my admin out first to go take photos and meet with the seller and get details just quickly, 30 minutes in the house. And at that point, it basically it helped set the tone to show that we're still professional and that we're connected and in person. So that's something that I'm doing different, is really allowing somebody else to represent me and my clients this year.
Wow, interesting that you're, after the pandemic, just now doing virtual meetings, right? I mean, what did you do during the pandemic? Were you not virtual?
I did virtual buyer consultations, and I still do, but the listing side, the minute I could be back in person, we only had like a 3-month hiatus where we couldn't be in person. After that, I was back in people's houses. I was just more comfortable with that approach because I feel like face-to-face, I can really connect with them. I can make them feel like I have their best interest at heart, which I do, whereas over a screen, it's harder to have that connection, right? Mm-hmm. So the listing side of things, I didn't want to go virtual if I didn't have to. But now that I'm doing this, I'm kind of thinking, well, maybe I can keep it this way moving forward, because it saves me substantially on drive time. And I'm still getting, an excellent conversion at like 97% signing. So if I'm able to do that and people aren't objecting, why not? Right?
Awesome. I love that. What about you, Koki? Anything new for 2023 that you're implementing?
Yeah. So one thing that I am doing this year, which is different and very old school. I'm sure you all have had the feeling where you feel like you're working all day and you feel like kind of productive, but also not really. And like, you just want to like stop at like some point in the day, right? Just like stop with the emails and calls and stuff and like enjoy your life. And so I'm now tracking everything I do from a lead generation standpoint. And so once I've like hit my like daily goal for lead generation, I'm essentially like done working. Like I don't need to work anymore. And I know we'll get to work-life balance, but one thing that's really important to me is having the ability to coach my kids in their sports. And I coached basketball in high school, or high school basketball several years ago. Got busy with real estate, was like, oh, I don't have time to coach anymore. So I stopped coaching, which I love doing. And the last 2 years, I've gotten back into it. And with this new tracking system, like I always, have time to coach, always. And so that's one new thing for me.
So what's the tracking system you're using, and what is the goal? Like, what's your daily lead gen goal, and how are you, what's going on there?
Yes. So it's a basic Excel spreadsheet. And my daily goal, I need to send out 1 video per day, and that can be to a past client, someone in my sphere, 2 handwritten notes, 3 CMAs a day. So I create 3 CMAs for past clients. 17 years, you have a lot of past clients, and it's like, hey, Sarah, checking in with you, see how things have been. I was recently in your neighborhood and thought it'd be cool to send you a breakdown of what's happening over the last year. It's like a very generic, CMA. That just creates questions, creates opportunities for, hey, by the way, my friend's looking to sell their house or whatever. And then 3 phone calls to people in my sphere. And am I missing anything? I think that's it. So like it's pretty simple, and if I do it consistently every day, it's like, boom, all right, done for the day. So tracking it is very helpful.
That is awesome. I love that you're old school with the spreadsheet, nothing fancy there. Really quick, just for clarification, the CMAs, is it old school, like paper style that you email, or are you using like BombBomb and or Loop or whatever, Loom, I think it's called, where you're videoing the CMA and talking them through it? What are you using?
I'm sending it via email as a PDF. We have a cool CMA system within Encompass, and so you just put in the address, it pops up the map, the properties, you select which ones you want to include, and then it generates a nice visual via PDF, and then boom, goes off to the past client.
Love it. What about you, Katie? What are you implementing this year?
So one that kind of links to personal and business. I've been waking up a lot earlier, so I've been trying to wake up at like 5, be to the gym by like 5:15, 5:30. Do all that, but it also helps because my husband's starting doing that as well. So I'm like, well, if his alarm's going off, might as well get up anyways. Which also then ends up trying to go to bed earlier. But that alone has made me have more time throughout the day for my business and more personal stuff. So that's been a big adjustment too. But after you get back from vacation, it's very hard to get back into, I will say. But overall, I have seen me have more time and be less stressed out about getting things done, which also goes back to another thing that I've been doing. So like I said, I am kind of old school. I do have my spreadsheets and everything, but I'm also a big like sticky note girl. So every day I have my sticky note that I write down everything. And used to, I'm like, if there was something I could put off till tomorrow, I'm like, oh, I'll just do that tomorrow. Like, it's not necessarily a big deal, but I'm trying to make sure that I actually do cross everything off my list, whether that's sending a marketing video or posting something on Instagram, that sort of thing. So if not, then the next day my list gets too long and something always ends up being pushed, which then eventually can obviously not be good depending on what that thing was, or if there's something more important that then gets above other things. So kind of my systems and everything. And then I do want to hire an assistant or a part-time assistant first off, which will definitely help me with a lot of things too.
Oh, good for you. Yeah, I cannot imagine. My team, we do 40 transactions and I have 2 full-time staff people to help with that. I cannot imagine doing.
Well, I don't have kids. Like I just got married. So, but I'm like, if I'm wanting to have kids, I need to get all this stuff figured out.
No kidding. So you said something that Koki also mentioned were videos. So let's talk about this. What kind of videos are you doing, Sarah?
Yeah, so I am on YouTube. It's one of my more popular features. I use it for conversion as opposed to, and also for referrals, as opposed to like trying to get followers per se. And so I have videos, I create series like downsizing, buying and selling simultaneously, relocating, buying a home for the first time, return on investment upgrades, whatever it is. And I make 14 to 15 short videos. I write all the scripts and I film them in a single day. And then from there, I just release one a week until they're all out, essentially. So I use that a lot in my social media marketing and my sphere marketing. And then also whenever I have an interaction face-to-face, I push people to my YouTube channel because people love video content. They want to know that you're a market expert. They want to see what kind of stuff you're putting forward. And they go and they watch a ton of my videos. Like I have people who will call me from New York and they'll say, Sarah, I found you on YouTube. I've loved all of your videos. I've literally watched you for 7 hours. They treat me like a celebrity, which is kind of weird. And then they hire me to buy a house remotely, which is awesome, right? So that is something that I've been doing for about 3 years now. I did kind of peel back a little bit in the last year, the last 6 months, because I was pregnant, didn't feel quite as good on camera. But I've actually come up with about 70 scripts I'm planning to write this year as a part of my 12-week year goals. And I'm really excited to get those rolling out.
So do you hire a professional production company, or are you using your iPhone in front of the computer?
Yep.
What are you doing?
So I literally write the script in a Word document. I send it to my videographer. I use the same guy who does all my drone videos. He's basically, I've negotiated a set rate with him for an entire day of filming because we're filming for 6 hours. He comes in and has to set up once essentially. And then he charges me a flat fee of like $100 for editing the video. So a film day is about $500 for me, and then $100 a video to edit. So an entire series cost me, maybe $1,500, and I get 14 or 15 videos out of it, which isn't too bad. But because I'm filming every 3 months, essentially he's negotiated me a better deal. So he comes in with his equipment, his lighting, he has a teleprompter, and then I just read off the teleprompter the script I wrote, which he puts in advance. And then I make all my thumbnails in Adobe Spark. So we do a little photo shoot at the end where I just walk around my house or outside and take photos of me pointing at things or putting my hand up or whatever. And then I use those for my thumbnails. It's very straightforward.
I love it. Where can people follow you? Like if they want to go to YouTube and find some of your awesome videos?
Yeah, it's at Maiga Homes. So that's my YouTube handle as well. If you Google Maiga Homes, it's the first thing that'll pop up. And that's my last name.
Maiga.
That's right.
Yes. Koki, what about you? Tell us, you said you do 1 video a day. What kind of video are you doing? And is it with a production team? What's going on there?
My videos are much different. Sarah, I think that's awesome. A production team and the price seems really, really, really great. I use my phone and I'm the producer. And my videos are basically twofold. One is I send videos to people on their birthday, or it could be like a short inspirational video, thinking of you kind of thing. And I've done it in the past for a while. And a friend was like, you know what, you should consider like doing those videos on Instagram. And so May of 2020, during the pandemic, like many of us, I was like a bit concerned about being able to sell real estate and earn a living, and wasn't sure what was happening in the world. And I'm a very positive person, and I was feeling just like a lot of like uncertainty and like fear at the time. And so I was like, you know what, I should post a video each Monday morning, and I'll call it Monday Morning Motivation, to inspire not only myself, but also whoever else is out there, listening. And so I've been pretty consistent with that. My goal this year is to do it every single Monday. I haven't missed one yet. So if you go to my Instagram page, you'll see a lot of inspirational videos there. And I, share stories from coaching the kids, the past weekend, or about real estate, or just about life in general. And those are the 2 videos I do on Instagram, and then sending people via text for their birthdays.
And I have to say, because Koki and I have known each other a few years, we go way back. You do birthdays better than anybody I know. He is on it. Guys, you have to get on his birthday card list. every year I look forward to what card Koki's doing. I wish I had it right here. This year, your birthday card is hysterical. It's his entire team. And they're the photos of you when you're what, 2 years old? It's super
Yeah,
cute.
I think I was like 2 in that photo. Yeah.
On their birthdays. So like it's his entire team at 2 to 3 years old, blowing out the candles, opening a present, whatever it is. It really is super creative.
Yeah.
I love it.
And don't forget the $2 bill.
Oh yeah, yes, the $2 bill is the best. My daughter, of course, stole it. It's in her piggy bank. So thank you for that. What about you, Katie? You're also doing videos.
Yeah, so mine's closer to probably how Koki does his. I've been trying to better them though, but I have noticed that people do like it better and I get more of a response whenever I personally am in them and they can at least see me a little bit. I don't know why that is. I'm like, I feel like you want to see the house, not me. But I am getting these. So another advisory board member for NAR showed me these little mic things that you can get, just plug straight into your phone.
Oh, cool.
And so this is something that I am getting to help with my videos and as far as like sound and everything. I mean, they're literally like $30. They're not, and that's for 2 of them. So
what is it called?
Can just help you. They literally just like plugs into your phone and then you type there, put this like on your shirt.
Oh, cool.
And so it can help with your, you know, 'cause to me, that's the biggest thing with your phone is sometimes the audio is not the best, but that little thing, even for how cheap it is, it's amazing. So I'm excited to kind of get one of those to help better my video since I'm not quite to where I can hire somebody. Occasionally, depending on like what I am shooting for, there's been a few homes that are higher and I will hire someone and do kind of a walkthrough video with that. But typically mine are on the smaller scale, like I said, just shooting straight from my phone, doing, you know, kind of reels, that sort of thing. But like I said, for some whatever reason, whenever I'm in them personally a little bit, instead of just showing the house, I get a better response and I feel like more people watch them.
Awesome. Thank you guys. I am taking notes left and right, and I'm hopeful all of you guys are as well. I kind of want to shift gear and go backwards to teams, especially Sarah, Koki, you guys, and Sarah, you're new. I've always had a team. I've actually never done real estate without a team. That was the only way I knew how to do real estate. I mean, that's my broker when I first started said, number one, you have to hire a coach. So I had to hire, and this is back in the day, I'm totally aging myself, but I hired Brian Buffini directly to be my coach, like one-on-one coach. And I remember it was like $700 a month. And this was in 2000. It was crazy. But number two, I also had to have an assistant from day one. So I've never not known how to do business without an assistant, which means I have tons of processes and systems. How do you guys set up your processes and systems to have an assistant? Does that make sense? Like, do you use a platform? How do you create those? How do you work with your assistants? Coke, you want to go first?
Sure. So the first time that we went through and created all of our systems and processes, it was actually an assistant that we hired who did all that for us. And so the 2 places where you can find all of it, one's going to be in Google Drive, where we have literally everything that we utilize in our day-to-day business. And the second place will then be in Salesforce. So we use a platform called Property Base. We've used now for about 12 years. And we have all our client information in there. Once we have a client who goes under contract, there's a checklist in there for every single step of the way until closing and post-closing as well. So it's virtually impossible to miss a step in the process because we have it all outlined. And I think it's important when you're creating these to always think about what questions do clients ask along the way in the process, and then turn that into part of your system and part of your process, right? So that you're always providing the best service possible because you're always meeting the client's needs and expectations before they even know that they have it.
That's awesome. What about you, Sarah? What did you do to get started in July?
Yeah, so I actually did have a part-time assistant a couple years ago, pre-COVID. I ended up laying her off when COVID hit, when we weren't selling houses for a while. So I'd already started working on like procedure manuals. I'm a very documentation heavy. Sometimes I end up in that area too much and I have to remind myself, like, you need to be talking to people. Stop working on your documentation. So I have like literally spreadsheets of where I order everything, where all the files are located. I work off of Google Drive, just like Koki as well. And so I kind of put together like a database or a manual for my assistant to work off of, so that I wouldn't have to verbally tell her everything. I could just send her there and say, yeah, I've already got the process, where it's located and how to do it here. So if I tell her, hey, I need you to order me consultation books, she knows exactly where the file is and where to order from and how much they cost, right? And how long it takes to get there, because I put all that on there. And so then that was super helpful. But then, of course, now that she's in, we're building documentation and processes together. So I was like Koki, I worked off of a spreadsheet for the longest time. And recently I decided, in order for me to grow, now that I have full-time help, that I'm willing to take on a little bit more business. But in order to do that, I wanted to systematize our process. So I've just started using a program called Shaker, which is basically a CRM transaction platform. And I will tell you, we spent 3 weeks as a part of our last quarter 12-week year goal, interviewing and researching and playing around with all the different CRM systems. And we had one-on-one meetings with several 30 under 30s and other people trying to figure out what would be the best system. And Shaker won for us. It's about $150 a month. And so it's a CRM and a transaction management platform all in one. And so far we love it. We're building out our processes, our deal boards, our automated emails, and it's making things very smooth and comprehensive, as opposed to us doing everything manually.
Ooh, I love this. Just in case you guys aren't seeing, Stephanie is trying to add all of the different tools that we're using into the chat. So make sure you're checking the chat as we're going along. Katie, what about you? Because I still can't get over the fact that you work solo with the transaction manager, but still the amount of business you do. So how do you manage everything? Because you have to have processes and systems, obviously, or else you wouldn't be as successful as you are.
So a lot of my stuff that I do in back end is just through my company, as far as like keeping our documents and all of that in check. And then I use Dotloop, that sort of thing, in order to keep everything together. And as far as like checklists, making sure everything gets done, like I said, I'm very old school. I just have handwritten ones that I can do that way. I know I'm probably the youngest one on here, and I'm the one that has all the papers and stuff, but it's just better for me that way, because stuff sticks in my mind better as well if I write it down. If I don't, then I'm, later today, I'm like, did I do that? Or was that another house? I don't remember. If I do stuff online, I'm trying to get better about doing certain things online on spreadsheets than versus paper. But for me, that just works, and I haven't changed it. I know sometimes change is good, but once again, when I do hire the other assistant, she can figure out how to do it all electronically, and hopefully can do it that way. So that's kind of how I make sure everything gets done in a certain way. But then also when I'm going through a transaction, just like, for example, with a buyer, right when I get that buyer under contract, I'm already booking inspections, having like on my old school planner when I need to make sure the appraisal is ordered by, when the closing is. So kind of just making sure I do it at that moment in time, not waiting, because then once again, if you get something else under contract, then that might get pushed back some. Just making sure that I'm kind of doing everything up front prior than like as it's going through the transaction, if that makes sense.
I love it. I too am very old school, and I keep a planner. My assistant makes fun of me because she puts it all in Google for me, and I never open it. So I'm with you. I don't write it down.
Google.
Like, no. But so what kind of CRM do you use? Like, do you send monthly emails, or like, how do you stay in touch with your database, Katie? Like, what do you use there?
So a lot of times I honestly do a lot of like social media stuff. So liking Facebook posts, commenting on that. If I see something happens on Facebook, then I'll reach out to them personally. I do send a lot of cards and emails for holidays. And this kind of goes into branding and stuff too. But I don't know if anyone saw my fur baby in my lap before she hopped down. But she is kind of the mascot, if you will, of my business. So a lot of times I'll send them funny memes or cards of her on holidays, as well as post on my social media. So a lot of times I actually have clients reaching out to me asking, oh, what's the next picture of Kaya that we're going to get? Like, what are you doing next month for Easter and this and that? So that's kind of one thing that also keeps me in check, just having an idea and like a way that I all the time do stuff, because sometimes I feel like it's hard to come up with marketing ideas. For me, I'm like, oh, just get my dog dresser up. There's my, there's my marketing tool for that holiday or whatever.
I love that it's authentic, kind of going back to Koki and his birthday cards. They're authentic. It's who you are. You don't have to, you know, look for the next shiny object. You're just who you are. And I love that you use social media, right? I mean, that's easy for you. It probably, I never post on social media. It's very painful for me, right? But that's just not my reality. And I love that you're doing that. Koki, what CRM do you use? And like, what's your marketing daily touch with your clients besides birthday cards? What are you doing? And your videos and handwritten notes and all of that?
Yes, so we use Salesforce. Property Base is the platform within Salesforce that we use, and we do send out monthly newsletters to all of our past clients, prospective clients who are trying to convert to sellers or buyers. And we also do a lot of events as well. We try to do a bigger quarterly event, and we also do smaller smaller events. Like, for instance, we have season tickets to the Washington Wizards. So we have 41 games and 4 seats to take clients to games and give them a really cool experience where they get to go to a VIP access, where all the players, enter the court, go through that same tunnel and have dinner on us, for every game. So this is a great way to say thank you for your business and also give them a really cool experience that they'll never forget. We do, annual events in the summertime, from wine tours in Virginia to yacht tours in Annapolis. This year, we're going to do a cooking class for about 45 people in downtown DC. So we try to touch people, face to face, as well as having our drip systems in place and contacting them via phone and text, et cetera.
Koki, one of the things that you do and compliments, I think all of us do it fairly well, is the branding. And you stay true to who you are. I mean, you played basketball your whole life. You're your son's basketball coach, and your daughter, I assume, also plays. Yep. Piper is, by the way, huge basketball player. But you stay authentic to that and you brand around it. Can you tell us a little bit more, like what you do purposely to build your brand? Like, for example, your main clientele, like your focus, like what is that?
Yeah, so at Compass, we have a sports entertainment division. There's about 130 agents out of 25,000 who work with athletes and entertainers. And so naturally, playing basketball and having a lot of ties to that community, it was a great fit for me. And so I've had some really cool connections to players. So I'll give you guys an example. We had a player who was traded to the Wizards, I guess 2 years ago. Huge name in NBA. If you guys follow basketball, he was traded from the Houston Rockets. And so the trade happened at like 8 o'clock at night. I'm sitting there thinking, who do I know that knows him directly, right? Because like you can't just like contact that person and think you're going to get through. It just doesn't happen. So I was able to figure out that my college teammate, his brother, coached this guy for 6 years in Oklahoma, and then my college assistant coach coached him in high school in California. So I was like, done. So I just like sent a text message. And literally, like within half an hour of the trade, was connected directly to this player's wife. And so it's like it's just like doing what you do naturally and connecting through your network. And I firmly believe that everything you need in life is like right in front of you. And so if you just stop and just think about who in your network, who in your life can help you get to where you want to go, make the right ask, the right call, and then whatever you need will be presented.
But it's natural for you, right? I mean, again, like social media is not natural for me. Basketball is, I wouldn't reach out to, well, nobody's moving to Hawaii to play professional basketball, but right, like you do what your life is, right? Like, so who's picking up pickleball in the group? Was that you, Sarah? Katie. Okay. So like, I mean, I see marketing opportunities there, right? So what are you guys doing, Katie and Sarah, for branding? Like, what's your natural branding that you're pulling in besides your puppy? Katie, Sarah, who wants to go?
Okay, I'll go. So for me, I brand myself as the educator, right? So I was in academia and law school before real estate. I'm very comfortable with data, with information. I like to know as much as possible. So for me, that's my comfort zone. So I tell people, like, I'm your real estate consultant. I'm not a salesperson. Selling houses is something I do. It's, it's a one action, but really we're building a relationship, and I'm here to help guide and protect your interests. Right. And so in doing that, I feel like I attract really good people who see my value, who are willing to, pay fair prices and respect my boundaries as well. Like, I set boundaries because I only work 2 evenings a week. The other 3 evenings are reserved for my family, for date nights with my husband and my son. And I don't work Saturdays at all because that's family day. So I tell my clients that up front at the meeting, and I let them know, like, this is my expectation if that's a problem. And my clients are always like, oh, I won't bother you. I'm so happy you do that. You deserve a day off. And I feel like it's really wonderful having the type of clients that I do. And because I provide so much value, right? They see me as somebody who can really help them and is partnering with them and looking out for them, as opposed to just showing houses and, transacting essentially.
So boundaries and, just living a balanced life, that is, especially with 2 and a new baby, that's obviously very important. Besides just communicating it with your clients, how else do you actively practice your boundaries?
Well, for one, whenever I'm going to schedule a meeting or, connecting with somebody, I will propose times that work for my schedule. And if they ask for, like, oh, well, I'd really want to do this, or really want to go see this house, I tell them, well, unfortunately, that's during my family day. If you'd like, we can see it first thing, the next morning, we can go the night before, et cetera. But, that's just not an option, essentially. Most times, I will say, because I set expectations up front, they're not really asking me, they're respectful of it. But sometimes you get a client that just forgets, right? And then they'll reach out and I'll remind them, I'll respond, or I, very politely, and say, just as a reminder, today is my family day. So if it's okay, I'm going to get back to you tomorrow morning about this. And they always go, oh, absolutely. Yeah, not a problem. I will make an exception for Saturday mornings before noon when we hit like crazy seller, spring market. But now that I have a full-time admin, I'm sending her out instead of me in the event that we have to do that. But I try to give her Saturdays too. It's like a team philosophy, but we're willing to compromise if it absolutely comes down to it, but we don't have to most of the time.
I love that. Cookie, what do you do? Are you there?
Yep, sorry about that.
All right.
All right. I was actually typing up a response to one of the questions I was asked. All right. So what do I do for what channel?
Balance, just like lifestyle and family, time. Yep. You're very balanced, and like you said, you do your lead generation and then you're done for the day. But how do you, maintain a balanced lifestyle? Cookie is darling kids, by the way. They're just the cutest kids.
Thank you. I think for balance, it really starts for me mentally. And so I have a really regimented morning and I get up very early. I get up at 4:10 every day, and people think I'm crazy, but since I was 4 years old, I've been getting up at that time, because when I was 4 years old, I worked with my dad in the mornings for 10 years. And so I've always been like a morning person. And so meditation is like really powerful for me. 5 minutes a day does it. Write in my journal. I read for at least 10 minutes each morning. I work out 6 days a week, and it's also part of like Miracle Morning, which I'm sure many of you have read by Hal Elrod. And outside of that, I think it's really important to have time each day for my family. So I have 2 kids, been married for 13 years, and we do just like random things. So my wife and I play a lot of pool, and I'm super competitive. So like this morning, we do a family workout every morning for 10 minutes. It's like a very quick workout together as a family. And so afterwards, we'll like go up and have breakfast. And so Jess is making like smoothie bowls, and I'm like getting like an extra round of pool real quick to keep my game tight. So those things that I think are important to do, like outside of our like, family sports, basketball, soccer, kids play. And because the weeks are busy, from work and then practices. It's important to have time, for family, but also for yourself too, right? So have some time for yourself and to do what you enjoy as well.
So Katie, at 5 o'clock in the morning, if you need someone to talk to, call Koki. He's up.
So actually at 4:30 every day, I do an affirmation call with an agent in Naples, Florida. And so if anyone's up at 4:30, hit me up.
Wow. What about you, Katie? What do you do for work-life balance?
So kind of going back to like I said, waking up early. It's nice that my husband and I wake up at the same time. Just kind of lets us actually have time to see each other. We don't work out together, but we pass each other in the gym and, send a wave. But I mean, overall, I think it kind of goes back to also the ways, like I've branded kind of myself too, a little bit opposite than like what Sarah does. I work, I feel like all the time, but at the same time, I try to put a balance in there just because I don't have kids yet. And that's kind of part of my sales pitch is that I do have time. Before I wasn't married, so now I'm married. So it's a little bit, I can't say that anymore. But so I'm trying to start a new balance, which is changing for me since I do have a husband now. But overall, like to me too, because I feel like I don't maybe do as much marketing as both of them. But I really do try and focus on the relationships with people in general, going back to friends, family, clients. Because I feel like if I give them that relationship and that they do have a good experience with me, that majority of the time they do call me again. Like I got a call yesterday for honestly somebody that I haven't touched or talked to within the last 4 years. And the reason that they used me again was because like, we had a great experience with you. We just think that you're driven. We have 2 other best friends that are realtors in the neighborhood that they lived in, but they still did call me. So I do think that depending on how busy you are, as long as you focus in the moment on the transaction that you're on, even if you're not, and you don't have time to do all this marketing or the money or, because back in the day, we didn't have any of this stuff, which is great that we have it now. But sometimes I'm like, man, imagine if we didn't have social media, how kind of great would that be? But it's also great for our businesses too. Like I said, that's what I do a lot of my marketing on now. But that's kind of going back to the question before, how I brand myself in a way. But as far as like I said, balance with it, I try and just get my stuff, like I said, if I make my list and get my list done, then the remainder of the time is doing stuff for me. And also just like planning my weeks out of when I am going to do stuff with family or friends, but then making sure I get, like I said, the work stuff done on top of that. So
I love it. I love it. I think what's fun about you, Katie, is I love how authentic you are, and I love how different everybody is, and you do what works for you, right?
Well, it's good to hear because, like I said, eventually I'm going to be where Sarah's at. So I'm like, okay, I'm writing down these things that she's doing.
Right. Yeah. And I think we all learn from each other. But I love being present and in the moment with your clients and treating them like they are the only thing on earth. And they really do come back tenfold and send you tons of referrals. And that's really, why worry about the next client? You should focus on what you're doing right now and do it really well. One thing that I'm just going to throw this in for my team, I'm much like you guys, super like Koki and Sarah. I'm very time slotted. So I do communicate it with my clients, but I also communicate it with my teams, and I control the transactions, right? So we all know that offers are due on Tuesday or whatever the day is. I just make sure that I'm communicating with my clients. Offers are due on Tuesday. That means it needs to be submitted no later than 10 a.m. Monday or whatever, like I control that, so that I'm not writing an offer on Monday night at 7 p.m. to get it in time for Tuesday. So it's just always setting those boundaries. And even with my assistants, I am very much, I'm like, you better put time delay on that email if you're sending it to me after 6 p.m., because I will not be okay with it the next day that you're working at 10 p.m. So, it's just kind of setting those boundaries and really controlling it, I think, is key there. I love all of this. So I have a question to ask for those of you that, Katie, you're super involved with association, NAR and YPN with your local and state, and Koki, you are as well. How do you guys manage that? And I'll start with you, Katie. Like, how do you manage, and you're involved with Junior League too, I think, right? Did we have that conversation? But tell me, how do you do your volunteer plus work, plus being married and all of that? How does that fit in?
Yes, it's a lot. So, first off, obviously my planner, but then also what I've been doing a little bit since being president of my local board right now, I have a lot of stuff that I go to. My AE has done, it's the one online calendar. I will do all of my like president stuff I have to be at, committee meetings, board meetings, that sort of thing. That is on my phone, Google calendar, just because it helps me keep it a little bit separate from all my other meetings. So that's been extremely nice and helpful, because a lot of times those meeting times change a lot too. And just having those, if I'm like driving down the road, don't have my actual planner out for something else, I can pull it up on my phone. But then also, if people typically, like I said, I just don't give them the option if I'm already have that time. And a lot of times if it doesn't work, I'm usually able to find another time to do something, or I do have some other agents that are newer in the office that I do trust that will help me out if, you know, I need a house shown, or there's a photographer going, that sort of thing. But 99% of the time I'm able to find another time frame with people. Or it's, you know, I have like a relationship with my photographers, for example, where there's one day that I can only do X time or this time. And I reach out to he's like, I don't have that time available. But a lot of times it's like, hey, just blame it on me. So then that way it doesn't look like my schedule is extremely packed. So make sure you have those relationships with your people. He's like, yep, just tell him I'm booked this time. So I'm telling you that. I'm like, okay. So it's really just trying to balance it, I mean, as well as I can. Same thing with like National Association of REALTORS stuff, because I'm on the NARYP advisory board, scheduling specific, especially like a lot of the presentations I do, a lot of times they'll message me beforehand and say, oh, when you present on this, like one that I'm doing next week is actually very similar. I had somebody reach out for a few weeks after that from another board, and they're like, whatever you want. So for me, I'm like, well, I already am going to have this other presentation already prepared, so I'm doing the same topic. So certain things that help me, that, you know, it's one less thing that I have to do, and I'm already going to have rehearsed that, have already presented that. So small stuff like that, that kind of helps me stay sane, I guess.
Love it. So, Koki, why do you volunteer? What do you get from it?
Yes. So my previous employer, who he said a quote one time that I thought was amazing, and the quote was regardless of how busy you are in life, you will always find time for things that are important to you, right? The second favorite quote was from Muhammad Ali, and Muhammad Ali said that service is the rent that we pay for our room here on this earth. And so my parents, you know, at a very young age taught me that it's really important to give back to your community. And we've made that like a big part of our lives, and also a big part of our businesses as well. And so over the years, like, it's been easy to find time to give back to the association, because I see a lot of value in that. I've gotten a tremendous amount of value, you know, from being involved from at the local level, state level, national level. The opportunities that I've been afforded by volunteering have been incredible.
Like what?
So one, my daughter just shared a photo to her class 2 days ago of me with Simone Biles on stage, right? That never would have been possible if I, you know, hadn't been, you know, volunteering and serving at the national level for the last several years, right? The referrals that you get are incredible. The relationships that you make with people across the country. You know, I have some of my best friends are people that I've met at, you know, conferences. Just so many things, you know. So for me, it was never really a challenge to you know, to give back or to find time to support our associations in many ways, but also local nonprofits that are important to things that I value.
Yeah, thank you. Anybody else want to add to that? Otherwise,
I also think it can help you bond like with your clients, especially like, for example, Junior League. there's so many women that like when they were younger and stuff, like they've been involved in that. It just kind of gives you a topic, one to bond with people on. And kind of one of those things too, that helps me just stop and not think about work for a little bit. It's a lot of times I'll go to nursing homes and volunteer. My grandma's actually in memory care too, locally. So a lot of times I'll go up there and hang out with the other people there, and just helps you stop and take a breath and not think about work. But like I said, at the same time, it helps you get out there and meet other people as well that could be potential clients, but at the same time you are giving back, and it helps you kind of relax, or at least that's what it does for me.
I love that. What other community involvement or giving back do you guys do? I saw the other day, I thought it was great. At Koki, I think it was your newsletter, potentially, but it was the neighborhood resell or something, like, we'll help you declutter. Was that you? No. Okay.
Can't take credit for that one.
But it was really neat. It was like, bring all of your junk to us, and we have Habitat for Humanity and Salvation Army on hand. So they, do one location at the, Safeway parking lot for the afternoon. So they have a shredding truck, a Salvation Army truck, a Habitat for Humanity, like restore truck, and you just bring all your stuff. And so it was something, so kind of cool, like a community event, and you're, kind of giving back. What do you guys do? Go ahead, Sarah. Yes.
So a couple years ago, pre-COVID, I had organized I called it Dump and Donate Day, which is kind of what you're talking about. And basically, I had worked with 7 local charities to basically come on site to collect donations. And we were collecting furniture, we were collecting for veterans, we were collecting for homeless, we were collecting food and clothes for the schools, et cetera. And then I got the local police involved, I got the schools involved, I did promo videos, and we had like 600 people come out and filled up 13 trucks. And everybody was willing to donate. We didn't have to spend any money to organize it because you're doing such a good service for the community. And then I put together like a board of my preferred partners, my mover, my lender, my title guy, et cetera. And we all kind of worked to coordinate and make sure it went smoothly. And it was really, really rewarding. In fact, I have a video from that day on my YouTube channel if anybody wants to check it out, but I'm hoping to reinstall that again. I don't think I'll be able to do it this year, but potentially next year, because it was really awesome to see the turnout. And because community is something I love to do, or service is something I love to do as well, but it's been harder for me. I gave up a lot of my board positions and leadership roles, knowing that I was going to be having a baby. So.
Well, and that happens. And, we all have seasons, right? And Koki, was asked to sit on a pretty prestigious position at NAR. And he said no, because the time wasn't right for his family, and the opportunity presented itself again. You just have to know where you are in life. And I think that's one of the hardest things for us to do as realtors, is saying no sometimes. We're in general people pleasers. And so, for me anyways, I think saying no is 3/4 of the battle, to make time for what you do. Anybody else want to add to the charity or anything that you're doing that you want to share? Katie, Koki?
Yeah, I'll just add quickly here. So part of our intake for all of our clients, we ask them, what nonprofits are important to them. And we make a donation to all of them post-closing. It's a nominal, $100 donation, but, just to let them know that, hey, we appreciate your business, and we're happy to just support the organization that's also important to you as well. So.
I love that you make it personal to them. I think that's incredible. So we have just a couple minutes here. I wanted to I'm going to go around, each of you get 1 minute, any parting thoughts you want to share. But one thing we didn't talk a ton about was social media. I know we did talk about YouTube, but what is it that you do that really makes you stand out with social media? Something, I don't know. I'm going to turn it over to you. If you'd like to go first, Katie, if that's okay. And then we'll do Sarah, then Koki.
Yeah. So like, so my biggest thing, honestly, is kind of my dog as far as like my branding and social media. Like I said, what I figured out my videos and me being in them, but then also, on top of that, I do a lot of like direct messaging, including videos myself, or touching on, like I said, something, if you see someone posted a picture of their baby, direct messaging them, saying congratulations. If I remember, put it in my planner, I'll send them, you know, a small onesie or a gift or something like that. But as far as social media, because I was looking at mine the other day, it was funny because the majority of my stuff isn't necessarily houses. A lot of it is other things, whether it's the volunteer work I'm doing through NAR, stuff like that. And I still hear people around me saying, oh my gosh, like I heard you've been killing it in real estate, And in my mind, I'm like, I haven't even posted like a for sale post or like sold posts in forever, but they're just seeing me being actively involved in the community. And people don't even, you know, our clients don't necessarily understand like NAR or like your local association state. They don't understand that stuff, but all they do is they see you, you know, doing other stuff, I think, besides real estate. And I think that's very important just because it shows that you're a human being, you're doing your work, but also you're doing something above and beyond that too. So, and then small thing really quick, I know we're running out of time, but I forgot to show this. I just talk about this a lot whenever I do some presentations, but as far as like taxes and stuff and keeping in check, I know a lot of people do apps, but just got this off Amazon last year and it's helped me a lot. So it's basically just a little binder thingy and it has each month on it. And I put my receipts in it. So it helps me stay organized. And then I have like all my credit card statements, you know, next to it that I help and keep in check. So random small thing, but Amazon, I'm telling you, you can find so many business organization stuff there, as well as Etsy. That's a good spot for marketing materials as well. So like your buyer consultations, sellers. I know a lot of companies have them for you, but if you want to make it more authentic, more you, just go on there and Google. There is literally everything. So.
Oh, I love it. Thank you, Katie. Sarah, real quick, because we are at 9, but I'm going to give you each 1 minute and then we're going to wrap up. Go ahead.
Sounds good. So I don't stress myself too much about social media. I do have my admin now kind of like posting and creating content of value monthly for the business page, but I do what I can. I'm not on multiple sites. I'm not investing in reels because I figure do one thing and do it really well. And for me, that's my YouTube videos. And so kind of like Katie, I do friend request every single person I come in contact with, whether it's at a listing appointment, a buyer appointment, an open house, it doesn't matter. I'm friend requesting them on Facebook. That's my primary platform. And my goal is just to stay in front of them, right? And so I do check the birthday list every morning. And if I see one of my clients or prospects on there, I take a quick video and shoot it over and just say, hey, just thinking of you today. Hope you're having a great birthday. You know, let me know if you need anything, essentially. And then I kind of like her, if I see somebody's having a health issue or somebody died or they had a baby or they're getting married, then I send a $20 or $30 gift in the mail. I just had a client who had cancer. So I sent her a cancer care package. I haven't sold a house for her in 4 years, but she reached out, called me crying. She was so happy that, you know, I sent something like that. So I just stay in touch and in front of people and just post when I feel like it. And again, family, workouts, you know, not a lot of real estate, to be honest. I'm posting more just about my life and things I like and enjoy. So.
Thank you. Koki, any last parting thoughts?
Just keep it real and authentic. When I look back on my most viewed or most interacted posts on Instagram, which is my main social media platform that I use, none of them are real estate related.
Yeah, it's you. Oh. Well, you guys have been amazing. I know Stephanie has put a lot of information in the chats. This was recorded. Thank you, everybody, for your time and for joining us. And I adore you guys so much. And pages and pages of notes, totally inspired. Go out there and make 2023 your best year yet.